Shalom and happy February. At least we're out of that mess by now, so I'm very glad about that. My mom's very glad about that. And I just don't know. That being said, I was recently I recently went to the temple. Actually, it was today. It was kind of really cool. And I was doing a bit of study about the practice in the temple, of which I'm not going to go over certain details, but it's supposed to be about a way for man to elevate themselves back to heaven, going from sphere to sphere. And it got me thinking about a lot of different things. So Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Catholicism, and Islam manage to have their own types of endowments that are actually pretty relatable. Kind of crazy, right? But let me just clarify real quick. Though they are different, they have the same type of goal: to be able to help with the ascension to heaven, so to speak. Now, with that said in mind, I want to be able to talk about these three different things. So you obviously have uh, Christianity. I'm going to focus on Catholicism and Orthodox for a bit. Then you got Islam with the Hajj, and you got the Jewish, which was done back in the ancient days, and I can't wait to see them do it one day when Israel is finally united, and relating it to my faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, let's get down to this nitty-gritty. So, with Catholicism, understanding that the Eucharist is supposed to be a thanksgiving, even though technically all Christianity has their type of Eucharist where they have like bread and wine or water, the fact of the matter is still the same thing. In Catholicism and in Orthodoxy, they go through, as if to say they reenact that part of Jesus' life where he's giving of himself, whether it be through, which is through the bread and through the wine, through the water, however you may contemplate it. Yes, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have a sacrament which is basically like the Eucharist or like communion, except, we just think that they're symbols of Christ's body and blood, and we don't necessarily have an entire reenactment for that. Those are the only set prayers that we have outside of the temple. Oh, yeah, and baptism. I forgot about that. Outside of the temple and baptism. That being said, Islam. Islam, it's actually very interesting because they're still Abrahamic. They still take their lineage from Ishmael, which is still of Abraham. And out of that comes a great nation, which happens to be in the Arabian Peninsula and mostly in Indonesia, obviously. Pretty cool, right? But when they go to Hajj, when they are financially and physically able to go, they actually have their own type of endowment where I'm not going to do finger quotes right now. It is an endowment for them because they have this presentation where they go around the Kaaba as if to say, like, this is the way that Allah created the world, where God created the world. And then it goes through the story of Hagar and Ishmael running back and forth between these two mountains in search for water. And then it goes into the spots, Mount Arafat, where basically Muhammad gives his final sermon, and it is representation of Abraham going through his struggle, making his covenant with God. And then, obviously, he stones Satan along the way back, and he sacrifices a ram in similitude of Abraham being commanded to sacrifice his son, but then being told not to in the end because Allah was just making sure that Abraham was obedient. It's pretty crazy, right? They, those two, go through their own presentations, whether it be presentation of the life of Jesus, presentation of the life of Abraham. Absolutely insane, and it works for them. Now, obviously, in a brief summary, and it is available to everyone online. Just make sure you find the right type of information. I'll even see if I could be able to put the church's website on here, just so that you could be able to look. But yeah, in the temple we learn about the creation, the fall, and the redemption. We put ourselves in the position as if we were like Adam and Eve. And it's really cool because when we are like that, we begin from innocence and then we fall from grace symbolically. Well, actually, literally and symbolically. It's kind of, transgression is. The story of Adam and Eve is very underrated, and you should definitely look into it and be grateful to Eve for having some common sense in her, because if she and Adam didn't fall, we would not be here. Enough said. Anyways, and being able to just learn knowledge, obtain for ourselves covenants, and accept a responsibility that allows us to become better people. And with that set in mind, that sounds amazing, really. Of course, if you don't want to be responsible, you have your own option. Don't go to the temple about it. But those that want to be responsible, those that have that in their hearts, to be hearts and minds with everything about them, accepting these things, going to the temple is a great honor, not just for God, but for us as well. And what we do, when we stay alert, attentive, and being able to just understand what was going on, because we always learn something new every time we go to the temple. It's like for like Catholics and Orthodox, you can learn something new every time you take the Eucharist. You can learn something new in Islam when you go to Hajj, depending on how many times you do it. But you're only supposed to do it at least once. If you can do it once, that's fine. But imagine going over and over again, just to relive that experience. I would love that for myself if I was a Muslim. I would have loved to go to Mecca every single year just for that same commandment. I would not want to go there once. In my perspective, certain presentations and certain rituals are great for people to be able to learn. And yeah, we associate themselves with devils for some odd reason, just because, evil is good and good is evil these days. Take a look at who they put as an example for little girls. Cardi B. Ugh. Disgusting, really. And they're not even considered like first-class citizens anymore due to the transgender community. Now it's them, and then men, and then women. Technically, it's back to men being on top and women second class. But now, because you have a trans community, I'm getting ahead of myself, and that's a topic for a different day. But the point of the matter is still the same. When you have these different facilities, these different rites of worship, because you can't just go to church just to learn things, just to be hyped up for the week and then just go back into depression. We go to church, we go to the temple, we go to the mosque, we go to the synagogue. It's not only about learning, it's about prayer. It's about communion and connecting with God. And likewise, in the temple, I connected with God. And it was great. I was able to be with my children. I was able to be with my Heavenly Father. Kind of a funny thing, really. If you don't know about my children just yet, check out the video about my Divine Comedy. I'm working on another video about that. Either way, there's so much more we could be able to do. So many things we could be able to learn. Take the Sikhs, for example. They have their own type of ceremony that initiates them, the Amrit, which is like a baptism in a way. They call it a baptism, but it's more of a rite of passage. Likewise are these presentations and rituals a rite of passage to show that we are fully fledged members of our separate religions. And it's such a wonderful thing. I don't see why people want to bring it down because they don't like certain things about it. I mean, there's a reason why I hide behind a mask, and it's not just because it's plague season, but because this is a mask that they paint on people when they don't want to understand what these people are trying to do. And we can't look at it from a secular point of view. We can, but it wouldn't lead us anywhere. It's an act of faith. And being able to act on faith, which leads into action in itself, allows us to be able to better understand where we stand with God, whether it be as a Christian, as a Jew, as a Muslim, as a Sikh, as a Buddhist, as a Hindu, as a pagan. It all ties together in the end. And I love that so much, and I love each of you. And I'm grateful too. I just love life right now because it's so good. Anyways, I hope you take care of yourselves, and I hope your day was great. Everything that you do will add on and will lead to somewhere, even if nowhere is a place. So take care. Ciao.